Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are diving in to my 2025 MLS Western Conference predictions, and let's get into it. Coming in at number 15, that is San Diego FC. They are the new kids on the block, but they did not make a big splash here in the offseason. Yes, they have Chucky Lozano and Alex Maiton. And yes, in the offseason here, they did bring in Luca De La Torre, but I just don't see it happening. I think that they're going to struggle in their first season, and I think that is why I have them at that 15th position. Now, coming in that 14th spot this season, I think it's going to be Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake lost some firepower with the departure of Arango and Julio. They did bring in Manuel and Tyler Wolff, but neither of those players are even close to the talent of Arango, and it's just not enough of what they need. I expect them to be near the bottom, and I think that's why in my predictions here, I think they will be in that 14th spot. Next up in that 13th position, I have the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver didn't make any notable additions in Los Concedo. He was a solid contributor for that team, and standing still in this Western Conference that is very competitive, and a lot of them have made a lot of moves here in the offseason. It's just not good enough for them to stand still, and I think that is why they will drop in the standings, and they will finish 13th this season there in the Western Conference. Next up in that 12th spot, I have to go with Minnesota United. They brought in Nicholas Romero to help with the defense, but they did lose Pukki up there at the top, their most experienced striker. I think that they're going to struggle to score goals this season, and I think that is one of the reasons why they will finish in 12th or in the bottom half of the table. I know we're going through the bottom half fairly quickly, but that is because they are going to be in the bottom half in my predictions here. But coming in at number 11, I have to say Colorado Rapids. They've had a mixed window. They've added Rafael Navarro, Wazimi, Murphy, but they've lost Miguel Navarro and Abubakar. If the signings don't adjust quickly, they could face another tough season and do poorly compared to last season, where they had a pretty good season last season. I thought that it would be better than what it was, but they've lost it, and I think that they could finish lower than what they did last season. Now, coming in this 10th spot, I think it might surprise some people because of their additions, but that is FC Dallas. They had a tough window, losing Alan Velasco, Jesus Ferreira, and Paul Arriola, three players that were key to their attack, but they did pick up Acosta from Cincinnati that is going to make an impact. Also, Delgado and Anderson Julio, they're all incoming to put some depth in on their team. It's just, I don't think that they will have a good season. I think that they will still be outside of the playoffs in that 10th spot. And for another surprise, I think that people will be surprised for this pick, but I could see them interchanging with the FC Dallas. I think that FC Dallas could end up in the playoffs, but I think it will take a lot for them. But coming in that 9th position, I have Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City lost major pieces: Polito, Fontes, Tim Melia, and Johnny Russell. But they've made intriguing moves in the offseason to bring in Joveljic, Manu Garcia, and Solomonov. If they get together quickly, they might be able to push for a playoff spot if they get together, learn the ways of MLS. We know Joveljic is, but the other two, I think that Sporting Kansas City are going to surprise us. They could come in that 9th spot here in my predictions. Now, landing in that 8th spot there in the Western Conference, I have the Houston Dynamo. Houston lost Carrasquilla and Herrera, two midfield anchors, but they brought in Jack McGlynn, a promising young talent there for the U.S. men's national team and just for MLS in general. But we don't know if he's going to stick around. We don't know if they're going to sell him on or not. But if he stays, I think that they could be around that 8th spot. They could remain competitive, but the lack of experience might cause them to drop out of that. But right now, I'm having them come in that 8th spot. Next up, we have that 7th spot, and I am going to be hyped for this team, and I'm going to be on the playoff train. You already know it. It is the San Jose Earthquakes. The Earthquakes have made some strong moves, adding Arango, Joseph Martinez, Mark Anthony Kay, and Nick Lima. They did lose Ochoa and Ebobisse and Jackson Ewell. It does hurt, but some of these signings that they have brought on here in the offseason will put them in the playoff mix, and I am on that train. Now, coming in that number 6 spot, I have to go with the Portland Timbers. They've bolstered their squad with Kevin Kelsey, Joao Ortiz, and Jimmer Forey, and losing Eric Williamson, and the big loss there for Portland is Evander. And at the time of making this video, there is a rumor of bringing in David DaCosta from Lens to replace Evander. They should remain a solid Western Conference contender, and that's why I see them coming in that 6th spot, potentially even getting into that top 5 spot. Now we head into our top 5, and in that number 5 spot, I do have St. Louis City. St. Louis didn't make any major changes as they already started building their squad in the summer transfer window. With the squad getting time under their belt at the end of the season and performing very well, I think they could reach the top of the Western Conference. Maybe not all the way at the top, but I do see them being in the top 5 this year in the Western Conference. Now, coming in that number 4th spot, I think this might be a surprise to a lot of people, but I think it's going to be Austin FC. Austin made significant upgrades with Uzzini, Vasquez, and Dubrzarski, and they brought in Sanchez from LAFC. Losing Driussi is a blow, but their new signings outweigh just the loss of Driussi. I see Austin finishing in the top 5 for sure, but for the time being, I have to put them here in that number 4 spot. Now, coming into our top 3, in that number 3 spot, I have the LA Galaxy. The Galaxy brought in Ramirez, but lost Joveljic. While they still have an attacking power and still a pretty solid defense, I don't see any problem with the Galaxy finishing in the top 3 again this season. And it also depends on how long Ricky Puig is out, but I can see them finishing 3rd there in the West. Now we are down to the top 2, and in that 2nd position, I'm going to have to go with the Seattle Sounders. Seattle made some big moves, landing Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola. While they did lose Rui Diaz, their attack is now even more dangerous, building off of last season's performance, making them a serious title contender, not only for the West, but for the MLS. They had one of the best defense in the league, if not the best defense in the league. And if they can continue that with their attack, they're going to be hard to beat, and that's why I have them there in that number 2 spot. And last but not least, we have our number 1 spot there in the Western Conference, and I think it's going to be LAFC. LAFC had one of the best transfer windows, bringing in Jesus, Yeboah, and Holm. Even though they did lose Bogusz, Campos, and Darboe, I think that with not a lot of other changes, their squad remains one of the strongest in the MLS, and that is why I think that they will be number 1 there in the West at the end of the season. So that is a wrap for my rankings of the Western Conference. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me down in the comments below what your predictions are for the Western Conference. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more MLS content like this, and we will see you for the next video.